Hi guys, Paul Michaels here from Real Dog Training. So here's another video answer to a frequently asked question. And that question is, should I shoot goats over my deer dog, over my deer indicating dog? And there's no simple yes or no answer to this, like a lot of these types of questions. But there is a couple of myths surrounding it. The most common one is people say that shooting goats over a deer dog will absolutely ruin it, which isn't true at all. I'm not sure where that saying comes from, but I'm guessing a lot of that comes from the pig hunting fraternity, where the type of dogs they're using, they're not indicating dogs at all. They run out and hunt on their own, and whatever they're out there hunting, targeting and chasing, they're barking on, they're attacking, they're pulling it down, and they're chasing it for a long way. So those types of dogs need to be very target specific, or they can completely ruin your hunt. So a pig dog chasing goats, a goat's generally going to be the first thing it's going to catch. If you're in an area with a few goats, goats are pretty easy for that type of dog to catch. So once a pig dog gets onto them, you're going to catch a hell of a lot more goats than you are pigs. And go into areas and the dog's going to be running around making all these noise on pigs, and it's no good. Deer are terrible for a pig dog to be chasing for all those same reasons, plus the fact that in most country, deer are actually really hard for a dog like that to catch. And dogs that start chasing them end up chasing them for a bloody long way, and you get lost dogs, and you get dogs that are just getting run ragged behind deer. So I totally agree in a way that a pig dog is definitely ruined once it's chasing goats or deer. You can fix them, but it's very, very difficult to fix a pig dog once it's onto goats or deer. But an indicating dog, it's all completely different. An indicating dog stays close, they stay steady, and they take us to the animal, and we decide whether we want to shoot that animal or not. So my main dog, Fly, will hunt pigs, goats, and deer all exactly the same. And I've shot a lot of goats over her, all indicated. She will bail goats as well if I tell her to, but that's a completely different subject all again, and that has a whole heap of myths and facts and good points to cover, and that's a whole nother video. But focusing on the indicating here, she indicates pigs, goats, and deer all exactly the same. I've shot a lot more goats over her by far than anything else. I've shot 500 or 600 goats over her. I've shot nowhere near that amount of deer, and I've shot less pigs again. And I used Fly for a season and a half of contract goat control work, and that's really was the beginning of her whole career, and we were hunting full time together. And all that time targeting goats, teaching her how to use the wind properly and sneak in and stalk, teaching her how to stalk properly. Fly was a very natural stalker and pointer right from the start, and was very steady right from the start. But goats, what I'm trying to say here is goats can be really, really good practice for you and your dogs. So in a lot of ways, shooting goats over a deer dog actually makes a deer dog a hell of a lot better. If you go into areas where there's quite a few goats and you sneak around shooting goats over your dogs, you can go into some areas and easily shoot half a dozen goats a day. And I'm not talking walking around a farm and bombing up big mobs out in the open. I'm talking in the bush, indicating, stalking in, and shooting them at close range with your dog locked up, pointing them. Some areas you can go and shoot more than that. Some areas doing the contract work when there was a lot of goats, shot up to 15, 16 a day in public land, bush areas, and in some areas we were hunting on private land with tons of goats. and we'd go into the bush on that private land. We'd shoot up to 30 odd goats a day, all indicated in the bush over your dog. Areas like that with truckloads of animals aren't necessarily the best for training your dog. A happy medium somewhere, I would say 6 or 8 animals a day, spread out over the day, in a 8 or 10 hour day. That's a nice balance between the dog having to work for them, and getting plenty of contacts, plenty of success, which ultimately good success, your dog hunting properly and steadily and succeeding through that, so you shooting animals over your dog, is what really builds your dog's drive and builds all this skill. So shooting goats over a deer dog can be really good for them. The dog we're training in the deer dog training blueprint, I'm not going to shoot any goats or pigs over him, not for the start anyway, not till all the blueprints done and over. The blueprint is we're going to go over how to train a very, very target specific deer indicating dog. We will touch on how to target pigs or goats, for example, if you do want to do that, but we're going to keep it very target specific, just deer in the deer dog training blueprint. The other side of the coin, reasons why you wouldn't want to shoot goats over your dog. If your main hunting areas have a lot of goats and only a few deer, like down Taranaki way, for example, and you're not interested in shooting goats whatsoever, then don't shoot goats over your dog, and it won't target them. It may take you to a few, but if every time it takes you to a goat and it's nice and steady, it doesn't break and chase them and drag them down or anything silly like that, you've trained it properly and your dog stays close and is steady, takes you to a goat, you just say no and turn around and walk away. Hopefully later on, at some stage, the dog takes you to a deer and you shoot it. You shoot the deer, turn it away from the goats. Dogs only repeat behaviors that bring success or move them away from discomfort. So if they keep taking the goats and they get nothing out of it, but every time they take you to a deer, you shoot it, the dog's going to stop wasting its time on goats and just concentrate on finding deer. So if that's what you want, as long as you train your dog properly, it's not breaking and chasing goats and things, and you can you can pick and choose and just turn it away from animals you don't want to shoot, then that's fine, and just don't shoot the goats. And that's the same with possums, rabbits, pigs, anything like that. If your dog once you've set your dog up in front, nice and close, going slow, really controlled, rock solid stop command that you can just give a command, your dog stops no matter what. Showing you how to do all of that in the deer dog blueprint. Then you just go hunting. If your dog takes you down the hill and walks up to a hollow log and points that, well, it's obviously a possum. There's no deer sitting inside a hollow log. You just turn around and walk away. If you don't want to shoot pigs and your dog takes you to a pig, turn it around and walk away. But if all you want to shoot is deer and it takes you to a deer, shoot the deer. That's success to the dog and it'll do it again. So there's a couple more quick side notes on this, is the fact that if you do shoot goats over your deer dog, and it is targeting deer, like a dog like Fly, for example, she'll hunt pigs, goats and deer with a lot of drive. She'll hunt all three of those exactly the same. If she smells them on the wind, she's turning and she's going, she's taking you down there. She won't let you walk past any of those three species. You may think that you would get a lot of trouble out of that, as in some days I don't want to shoot goats, I don't want to shoot pigs, and I'm just after deer. One way or another, and I've spent a lot of time in the bush walking around behind dogs, it's never been a huge problem. Fly's not the first dog I've had that'll indicate pigs, goats and deer all the same. And I've hunted I've targeted just deer in areas where there are quite a few goats. And yeah, my dog's taken me to the odd goat here and there. I've never been taken on a huge, massive, long mission on a goat when I didn't want to do it. I've probably had it half a dozen times when a dog's taken me 10 or 20 minutes out of my way when there's been nothing to tell me that it may not be a deer, you know, and so the dog's taking me down on a wind and nothing has told me that it's not a deer, you know, and I'm sneaking down there hoping it's a deer, and it's a stinking goat. That's happened probably half a dozen times out of literally hundreds and hundreds of hunts. Usually, more often than not, if my dog starts tracking, for tracking, for example, and I see some, you usually see goat sign. You'll see the marks. If you use, sometimes, every now and again on goats, your dog will, in certain conditions, dry, hard ground conditions, a dog can track a goat for a long time without seeing a mark, and it can be very surprising how often you end up in the same situation with a deer. Hard, dry ground conditions, in the bush, heavy leaf litter. I still get the odd surprise where a dog's tracking, I can't find any marks, and then eventually we come across some real soft ground and there's some deer marks here, and we've been tracking a deer the whole time. And we'll be going over all this advanced hunting stuff in the Deer Dog Blueprint. Right at the end, we're going to show you, go and take the cameras out into the bush, show you how we start our dog off hunting, and then go right into like, look, this is exactly how the wind works, exactly what to expect when your dog's tracking, what you should follow up on, what to look for, all of that advanced hunting stuff. But you generally know most of your wins in the bush are, you know, a good, decent, long range wind in the bush is 200 or 300 meters. It doesn't take that long to move, go drop down on a 200 or 300 meter wind. Sometimes it can, but your wind indications are generally relatively quick and direct, and you can just get in on the animal and work out what it is relatively quickly. It's tracking that can take a really, really long time, and you can with a good dog, once it's properly trained, you can just, once it's starting to track an animal, you can track it for as long as you want, all day, and come back the next day and start again. But with tracking, it's generally pretty easy to work out what you're targeting because you can see the marks. So even when you don't want to shoot goats, and you've got a dog that's taking you to goats, and you're in an area with a few goats, it's generally not a huge hassle anyway. So, yeah. I mean, obviously it's a personal thing. It's totally up to each individual what they want to target with their dog. Like I said, if you've got no interest in shooting goats, don't shoot goats over your indicating dog. If you kind of want to, get stuck in, and it'll be great practice, and it won't really cause you any serious issues anyway. So anyway, that's my take on it, and I'll see you next time with the next video. Cheers.